And today's film takes place in the ocean with marine biologist Dr. Aaron Kendall and engineer Sam Jordan. It's September 13, 2029, and the world's technology is a lot better, and human beings have found a way to survive under the sea, and this is how we have Dr. Aaron here making her prototype device that's gonna enable her to communicate with sea creatures. A little backstory into Dr. Aaron Kendall here: she's technically married to Sam Jordan. To live in the very big marine facility and to operate as an engineer or in any field really, you need to technically be a couple because you have to live on the site. And since the very ambitious Dr. Kendall knew that she had a lot to offer for marine biology, she pretended to be married to Sam so that they're allowed on the facility. As you can see, Sam is the engineer and he's also the guy that operates the ship. And if you're wondering what he's doing with that ship, he's docking this pod that Erin is going to use for her project of communicating with animals. And even though she was really stressed about the pod and him docking it, Sam pulls it off without a hitch, and Erin shows her appreciation with a kiss. But unfortunately, even though Sam did what he was supposed to do, there was a faulty backup power system, and Erin was too much of in a hurry to actually just get this project over with, and she tells Sam that she's gonna just reset, but he tells her that that's gonna be a problem as they need to do more than a reset, because if they're mid-ocean and the same problem occurs, they're gonna be in big trouble. He continues to suggest that maybe they should take the pod back to the lab and have it analyzed again for system malfunctions. But Erin wasn't having any of that, as she tells him that she's not gonna let the replacement team get all the glory and that they need to deploy the pod that very same week. Before Sam continued talking and tried to convince her that that was a bad idea, their commander, Mitch Connard, comes down to their sector to congratulate Erin on her project. And as soon as Erin accepted her praise from the commander, Mitch wanted to have a word with Sam. He asks him if he's finally made his move on Dr. Aaron, but Sam tells him that Aaron only sees him as a business partner with benefits. And the commander goes on to say that he should lay it on the line and to actually get real and to tell her how he really feels. And as the conversation continues, we find out that Commander Mitch actually knew that Sam and Aaron weren't actually married, but he just went along with everything because he wanted to have them aboard the program. Next we see Sam and Aaron heading toward another base, and they're only 5 hours away. Sam is trying to enjoy himself with some music, and he's also thinking about how he's gonna tell Aaron about what he feels. And as he was thinking about all Aaron could talk about is the project and how she's gonna talk to another species, and this really frustrated Sam, and he confronts her about what's gonna happen in a couple of days, as they're both gonna go back home and they're not gonna be together anymore. And when he goes on to confront her about everything, she just starts to dodge his questions. Sam kept pushing, but they get interrupted by their computer, which informs them that they've reached their destination. And because they were now at their sweet spot, they were gonna launch the pod and see if Aaron's project that she worked on for 3 years finally works. What do you guys think? You think we'll ever invent a device that's gonna enable us to talk to animals? So what actually happens to this pod? Does it work? Well, yes and no. After they deploy it, the same backup system error pops up because Aaron chose not to take it back to the lab and have it checked out. And because this could potentially be dangerous and compromise everything, Sam decides to call the drone back and go back home, but the very ambitious and charming Aaron tells him that maybe he should have a look at the pod since he's the engineer and he can probably take a look and fix it. And you remember how I said that Sam has feelings for Aaron? And even though she pissed him off just a few moments ago, she still manages to convince him to go up and check the device. Before he goes up to check the device, he actually goes in for a kiss, but he kisses her on the forehead, which is a bit weird. I mean, I would have definitely went for the lips. Anyways, after he gets inside, he tells her to close the hatch and disembark because he now believes that he has to go inside the pod to check the problem. Aaron was right next to him and they were communicating, and he was telling her that he found the error and that he could fix it, but in the middle of their conversation, their comms pick up this static sound that was really annoying. And then all of a sudden, without any warning or any signs, a giant tsunami hits. And the next thing we see is Aaron, who was unconscious, waking up to an alarm that's sounding inside of her ship. She tries to communicate with Sam, but she doesn't know where his pod is, nor does she see it, and at this point she doesn't know how far away the tsunami pushed away her ship from her original destination. And when she couldn't pick up Sam on her signal, she tries looking around in the ocean to search for his pod, and when that doesn't work, she takes the ship up to the surface to see what was going on. And when she got up there, the sight was unbelievable. It was literally raining asteroids from the sky, and everything was on fire. And just before her ship got hit by one of these massive asteroids, she dives back inside the ship and calls for Mayday. And just when she was about to lose hope, thinking that everybody must have died under the ocean, the commander picks up her signal and they start talking. He asks for her status, and she informs him of everything, and she starts to panic and tells him that she doesn't know where Sam is. And after Mitch calms her down, he tells her that they're not in a position to deploy any search and rescue, as most of their underwater stations have been hit, and there's mass chaos and panic as everyone is trying to do their best to survive. He also goes on to explain that they didn't actually experience any asteroids or fire, but the cause of the destruction of all of their underwater facilities was technically a massive earthquake. Aaron gets really confused by this because she didn't experience an earthquake, and she asks him what happened, and the commander tells her that he himself doesn't have any intel, and considering what Aaron said about the sky literally being on fire, the commander makes the analysis that this is probably some kind of global catastrophe. He then asks Aaron if her ship is intact, and she tells him that all of her systems are green, but she only has 45% of oxygen left. And seeing that she can't really do a long search and rescue herself because of her depleting oxygen, the commander orders her to return to base as her oxygen is running out, and there's not really much she could do for Sam as he could be anywhere in the ocean. But as soon as she heard this command, Aaron just turns off the comms, and she tries to track her previous location, and she goes looking for Sam. And after she turned on all of her sensors in a couple hours of searching, one of the sensors picks up a big metal object, which she thought was Sam, but apparently was just some big ass plane that was shot down from the sky. And after feeling incredibly devastated and demoralized, she goes back to the control console to check her location again. She starts to lose it, especially after looking at photos of her and Sam, thinking that she's lost him, but the pictures actually give her hope to keep searching, and she tries to first connect to his pod remotely, but she sees that she's not in range and that the uplink was lost, but next she hears a familiar sound. Apparently, the pod that Sam was in is actually emitting the sound that she was gonna use to communicate with animals, and her ship was picking up the signal real good. And after following that very same signal, she finally gets to his location and she locates his pod. And when she tries to radio him, she picks up Sam's voice and is very relieved to hear him. But even though Sam was alive, he wasn't really in the greatest of conditions, as the tsunami really knocked him around inside that very tiny pod, and there was also extreme heat, and he was really running out of oxygen. Aaron had to act fast, and she asks him how to engage the auto dock system, and Sam talks her through it, and she finally manages to dock to his pod. And as soon as she got Sam back inside the ship safe and sound, she disengages the pod and attends to her quote-unquote husband. She gives him some water, she tries to take care of him and do the best that she can, but immediately they receive a warning that the ship is actually running out of oxygen and they only have 16% left. And in a bit, Sam realizes the big gesture that Aaron made and how she sacrificed her own well-being just to go looking for him even though she wasn't sure if he was alive or not. And from this, Sam realizes that Aaron loves him a lot, and this is a surprise to Aaron as well, as she didn't really want to pursue a relationship with him, but now she knows that he means a lot to her. And considering how they don't really have a lot of time left, Sam gives her some ideas on how to increase the oxygen inside the ship, which is gonna give them a couple of hours, and they start heading back to base, even though it's really far away.